Is that live?
I'm going to do it.
All right.
Will you push that blue button as soon as you go live?
Yeah.
This will be easy.
You think get right up into the mic.
Yeah, you just want to be close to it. Just
Like
like
I can lick it, I'm close enough.
right.
Ready?
And anything goes. It's okay. More ventriloquist.
Coming up on the show this morning, we'll talk Innovative Collective and downtown revitalization and a great initiative that UHV is part of. Super Bowl preview,
Joe
Joe Biden, and a whole lot more coming up on today's Wade and Carter Show.
Harumph.
I love that everything.
A little bit of everything.
I love that.
This is what we call a typical Mexican operation right here. This is very common in this area. And we have like Flex Seal up on the counter. We're gonna make a boat out of this.
Perfect.
Works. It's innovative. Flex Seal.
I think the two of the bucks games are two, by the way.
Two of it.
$10
Oh, who's gonna win?
$12. Well, no.
Hey, good morning.
Right there, right off the bat, a prediction that the Bucks just dominate the Super Bowl this weekend. That's from an innovative young man. Our guest. Give us a moment here. We're very fortunate to have guests this morning, Ken Colwell and Nick Smoot,
Joining us this morning.
from different directions. One's the head of the business school at UHV. The other is the founder and CEO of Innovative Collective. And together, we're going to try to create that word they call synergy.
Come on.
And synergy is an often overused word. It's a lot like
Underutilized in this town. it seems.
underutilized in action, but sometimes overspoken.
Absolutely.
Oh, there's synergy there. I know there's synergy there.
There.
Right, but it doesn't mean there's really anything there until we get something going. But very excited. I'm going to tell you that I know that this concept that we're going to discuss, and we'll get to it in a minute, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But I know that Dr. Glenn at UHV is a cutting edge thinking academic.
Both Dr. Glenn's.
But both Dr. Glenn, yes, and then of course to have Ken here is a bonus as well. So very excited to have you folks in studio. With
Let's
us
do
today.
this.
Thank you very much.
The Weather Rock reports that the Deerland feed weather, it's 57 degrees in Victoria and cloudy, heading to a high today of 79. The clouds should burn off this afternoon is what it looks like. A sunny afternoon.
Nice.
And no rain in the immediate 4 or 5 day forecast. So for everything you need, folks, there's Deerland feed. You can get by if you need to pick up weed eliminator. Not weed.
Not weed.
You can't buy weed at Deerland feed.
But you can buy seed.
But you can buy hay.
I'll be stopping by there today to get the hay.
There you go. And just tell them Wade and Carter sent you. They'll give you the discount. You'll be glad you came by.
They tell me to hurry up and get out of there.
So, Ash, these, for those of you that don't recall or aren't smart enough to know or don't research, which would be, between y'all, 90% of our audience, Ash
No, it's
is
just you and me.
Ash is the athletic director at UHV. So we have an affinity for the university. We have I think, an emotional, not just attachment, but commitment to the success of the university here in Victoria. I think that folks like Mr. Colwell do tremendous work on behalf of the community and our young people. And I want to start off before we even get a chance to get into Nick, your background and all that. Tell me something that jumps to the fore when I ask you, what can we do in Victoria, Texas, to not only educate well, but I know we do at UHV. The numbers show the kids are all hired. Everybody that comes out of our business programs, they all have jobs. They're not waiting around hoping to get some. How do we keep our best and brightest here at home and make Victoria, Texas a better place?
Yeah. First thought that jumps to the top of mind, it does come down to culture. And the community as a whole, sometimes communities just go with the flow and they forget that they're the ones who set the culture for their town.
Or they go with the stagnant.
Yeah.
You get into a rut of being just bleh.
We all do.
Right.
As humans, we all do. We kind of get into this mode where you forget you're making thousands of decisions every single day. And yet, how many of those are you consciously engaging with? And as a community, you kind of fall in that same pattern where it's like, well, let's make sure we just deal with the potholes. Let's make sure we just deal with the buses. Let's make sure.
We skipped that in Victoria. No, the potholes are still here.
It's a nice road.
We like
We're
the
more like-
potholes.
We're more like you always swerve left in the 300 block.
But yeah, overall, I would say one of the things that keep young people here, it's not a secret, right? You have culture centers within 2 hours of you. So that's kind of hard. And so it's going to always hear the sucking noise into these areas where it's like, over there, it looks kind of like there's better music and maybe cuter girls and more handsome guys. But the reality of it
And in
is,
San Antonio, there's pro sports. In Houston, you got the Astros. I mean, if you're young and single, you
Are you saying
want
the
to
Astros aren't pro sports?
No, I'm saying the Texans and Rockets aren't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
but you know what the difference is, like in a place like Victoria, you have the ability to set what do you want your culture to be as a community and then make it happen. Like as a town, it's not so big that it's in someone else's hands to run for you. It's that you get to set it. So
And
I think it's an opportunity.
And that's kind of why you're here. And I'll ask Ken this question because you're sort of the catalyst for this. A few others, Danielle Williams of the Main Street Project, Bill Winlet, who I think kind of got you guys together. But Ken, what?
Bill's an aggregator. Bill's a guy that brings the right people into the room.
Yep.
I mean, Bill Willet's the kind of guy that would say, let's get the right people on the bus, and then we'll figure out where they sit.
Exactly.
Which
That's
is
what we're trying to do.
which is awesome.
So Ken Caldwell's the dean of the School of Business. And Ken, why this project and why now?
Well, I've as you know, Ash, I've been at UHV for about 1.5 years, and during that time, I've gotten to know Victoria a little bit. And what I think it lacks is a entrepreneurial or innovative ecosystem. And I think that's the key to economic development in the region. I think it's one good thing to bring in big employers and have them hire local people, but you really need to create your own jobs. And to do that, you need people creating and innovating, doing new things. And I think that is one of the things everyone I talk to in Victoria agrees that we can do a little better with. So, it's always been, I'm an old entrepreneurship professor, and I always tell people when all you got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So I truly believe that entrepreneurship is the key to Victoria's future. And when Bill hooked me up with Nick and I got a look at what they were doing, got super excited, got on a plane in the middle of the pandemic and headed up to Coeur d'Alene and saw what they were doing up there.
It's a tough trip. I mean, it's,
Yeah, real tough part of the
probably
country
one
to
of
go
the
to.
4 or 5 most beautiful places in the country.
Yeah,
Pretty brutal.
It was pretty brutal. I went there in November and it was in the 60s. I brought my coat and everything, but it was Texas weather down there.
Must have been a Chinook.
It's the operation that they have there is awesome. And when we started talking about the possibility of doing something similar in Victoria, I just got really jazzed about it.
Or actually, I think that's more the Pineapple Express up that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not the Chinook. Chinook's Calgary
That's
in Montana.
For those
So-
of you, so Ash is an old Canadian. He's referring to. Remember when Leo DiCaprio made a big deal about climate change, and he was like he was defending the Chinook winds, like it was the Native American winds, and we were somehow being demeaning to what was his.
So what did he
What was his
blamed?
take?
He thought that was global warming.
Yeah,
in
the
action.
Chinook winds
Yeah.
was global warming.
Yeah,
That's
but-
what it was.
So Ken, how does UHV fit into this? Before we talk to Nick and a little bit about the Innovative Collective.
Well, so we have a entrepreneurship program at the undergraduate level as well as at the MBA level, and what we really want to do is get integrated and plugged in with what Nick's doing, and be part of it downtown, and truly be partners with IC, be involved in all their activities, make sure our students get access to all their activities. Because they're doing really great things. And, if you hear Nick talk, you realize he's not just teaching people how to start businesses. He's teaching people how to be better people, more and live more intentional, authentic lives. And I think it's something all of our students can really benefit from. So we hope to be a major presence in anything we do downtown with IC.
And there's that synergy, because we've heard for a number of years in Victoria about downtown revitalization. And there is a faction here that says, whoa, I don't know that we need tax dollars going to that. And that's kind of the beauty of this is in listening to Nick and you the other day, it's not a lot of tax dollars. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of investment and capital investment, but it's not huge tax dollars that are being allocated, if any. And so, Nick,
Right.
Explain a little bit about what you do and how this has helped the communities that you've established this in.
Yeah, so it comes down to looking at how do you reignite the American dream, because it does feel out of reach for quite a few people now. And if you look at society, people are lonely. We're really not innovating in the same way we used to. People aren't tinkerers in their garages the same way. And it's time to figure out what went wrong. So it was about 8 years ago I started it, and went to one city back in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, moved from LA after I'd sold my third startup, and looked at the town and asked the question, how can I turn this into this startup engine, a culture engine, and developed a system of 70 events per year. So it's a lot per community. However, it creates a culture. And like you're saying, there's some investment that comes. Sometimes it's from a community, if the community is the type that does that. Other times the private sector. So it was really letting America define, like, how do we want to build our own town again? And the investment goes into bringing in a ton of industry experts to a town. So we do these storytelling events. We interview local entrepreneurs. We have free wine and beer nights. We have startup idea sharing sessions. We bring in venture capitalists. We bring in partners from companies like Google that'll come in and do some trainings, or early founders at companies like Sonos. And it really comes down to starting to unlock curiosity in the minds of all the citizens and help them connect around that curiosity, which is a real common thread that actually everyone has. Every single person listening has an idea that they want to work on, but they don't. And that's stupid. They should get together and talk about it. Like, why not? Instead, they're going to go to a bar and drink themselves into oblivion, which is nothing wrong with having a drink. But, like, why not talk about something that's awesome, or that idea you have that might become a product that changes the world, versus just sitting there.
And always take a chance that maybe someone else shares your idea, or it could, hey, well, they might be the missing piece to your idea, which in your case, I look at Ken and I look at the business school and what we're trying to do. And then you bring in this opportunity. And when you throw in that Victoria, love-hate is not the right word. It's a wishy-washy commitment to downtown Victoria. Okay. We've always got, everybody would love to see Victoria have a vibrant, fun Fredericksburg, Texas downtown. Yeah. Let's all go downtown. There's a wine tasting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But the wine tasting just never happens.
Right.
So nobody listening right now is saying, wait, there's no tax dollars involved? Well, screw downtown anyway. Nobody's saying that. Everybody's all about a vibrant and exciting downtown. Ash and I have talked for 2 years on the program about the idea of trying to get some married student or professor type housing. I talked about where Mitchell School is, level that. Let's build some condos. Let's put 100 people down there. Now you've got to have a dry cleaners. You've got to have a convenience store. The coffee shop expands and now has dinner. Yada, yada, yada. This idea and teaming, say, with Bill Winlet, where, wow, we've got space.
Yeah, now it can happen.
Now you've got some.
And how are these spaces utilized? Because that's sort of the hub for this, or at least the center of all the activity and all the creativity and the catalyst. Good word. Thank you.
Yeah. The buildings. So here's an important thing. It's not about the buildings, right? That's actually a really important thing. It's not about downtown. It's actually about activating the culture strategically through events that pull the people together to look at how they connect with each other on curiosity, how do they learn new skills, and how do they start companies and create things that add value. Where you put that, the tip of the spear, if you need revitalization, we tell our communities, point and shoot. Like, just tell us where you want to go. Like, we've had multiple towns say, well, this part of town we'd like to see revitalized. Cool, we'll host the events there. Because guess what? We could, like, start in that parking lot with having events, and sure enough, something would start to happen out there, and people would show up, and then all of a sudden revitalization around the neighborhood.
The farmers market here in town jumps to mind. It used to be downtown. Now it's out by the Patty Dodson, and you go by there on those Saturdays, and it's thriving. It's a parking lot.
People forget this. I use this analogy a lot. People forget we don't live in Footloose. Like, you don't need permission to just dance. Like if you want a better downtown, hang out downtown.
Right.
And like, you know, as silly as it sounds, I've been to 100 plus little communities in the last 6-ish years across this country. People are paralyzed. They're waiting for somebody else to lead them. And yes, we've understood a method that really helps them and how to bring in partners from major corporations and drive tens of millions of dollars into startup ideas and scale companies. And we can help with colleges and the entrepreneurship programs. And there's a lot we learn that works. We bring in artists from around the world. In the city council, because
it's self-sustaining.
Yeah.
Costs involved to get them, as Nick says, bring in people to hire some local person. But these startup dollars go back into the local economy. We're going to hire local people. They're going to spend money here on events at local, you know,
hotels, renting out restaurants, shutting out streets for street fairs, everything comes right
you know,
back.
and at the end of the day, in a couple of years, the model is self-sustaining. So it's not something where there's a continual handout from the government to fund this.
Well, the building too, I was going to say, you asked the question, what does the building look like? You know, we've jokingly called them American Dream Factories because it's this weird mix of some retail, a barber shop. We have one with a cigar room and a bar behind a secret bookshelf. We've got a college in it. We've got drone companies. There's over 100 little companies in there. And it was an abandoned Elks Club that's like 130-ish years old.
Awesome.
It was abandoned for 30 years. And now it's the heartbeat of town where you cannot find like anybody who's not in there and just kind of like, oh my gosh, they're huge segment because everyone's building really fun companies. And yeah, sure, it's a lot of tech. But at the end of the day, the reason why tech plays into things is software is eating the world.
Right.
You talk to Simplot, right? And Simplot is an old farming company. I mean, the guy behind Simplot said, I used to run my factory with thousands of people. Now I run it with iPads, you know, and a handful. And look, the game's changed. And so, yes, we love ag. Yes, we love farming. Yes, we love cattle. But let's also look at what else can help keep young people here, provide great income, provide vibrant jobs, and help people manifest these ideas they have in reality.
Well, you can't be afraid of tech. I mean, the American farmer runs his farm with tech. You got GPS on your tractor. You got, you've got mid-field programming for fertilizer based on the soil samples you took. We'll add more nitrogen here. We'll add more potassium. You've got all that going on. Is this, Ken, a project that you could roll into Danielle in part into the Main Street? I'm not just trying to give her more duty, but more authority, more responsibility. Can we roll that in somehow?
We see it as a partnership between the university, between the Innovation Collective, and between the city of Victoria. And we've had meetings during Nick's visit with the city manager and with Danielle and her folks.
See, we love Jesus, and I'm telling you that I'm okay. We try to entertain. Okay, so let's have a little fun with Raleigh. I could see Raleigh going collective. I used to have Hot Wheels. I could see Raleigh doing that, but I could see Jesus saying, "Hey, man, me and you, give me your number. I'm going to call you. Let's get together."
Interrupt you right there, Brent. Raleigh is all over this.
Well, and Raleigh knows that I love him. Raleigh's an architect. Raleigh's a builder.
Yeah,
and he's an entrepreneur.
Absolutely, it's his nature, and he's a business owner, and he's a go-getter. But I mean, Jesus also he's a city manager like that is key to this.
I've met so many fascinating people in this town already. I've probably spoken at 9 different gatherings, like since Sunday, and meeting the individuals here, everyone's excited. I think a lot of communities like most are asking that question, like, "Hey, what's next?" And here's the truth: this has been my obsession for 8 years. And I worked with churches and schools, kind of like how you organize communities. And before that, in there, I was working with startups. So we do have expertise that helps. But what I will say is, all the right pieces are here in Victoria.
Right.
The motivation, the desire to row together between the university, the downtown Main Street group, Raleigh even. Raleigh at one of the gatherings says, "You know what? We don't quite remember our past the same way we should. We need to tell these stories more about this town, the history of what we've been." Because people do forget. Like, we're dumb. All of us are dumb.
Right.
Like, we tell ourselves stories every day. And we better be telling ourselves good stories and stories that motivate us and stories that like drive us in the future. Because if not, we're just sitting at home, kind of.
Exactly.
Did have a question asking from Facebook listener, what cities have you done this in? So that's a good opportunity to kind of, because Coeur d'Alene's about half the size of Victoria.
Sure.
But you grew
Coeur d'Alene.
up there and saw an opportunity to revitalize your hometown. But I mean, you're not going into Manhattan and dropping this in the middle of Manhattan. These are
Right.
cities that are very similar to Victoria.
Not Manhattan yet.
Yeah.
Right.
So
If you can make it there,
you
you can make it anywhere.
Once it finishes emptying out because of COVID.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We'll squat and high rise.
Right.
Yeah. No, but so to quickly answer that question too, part of our goal is 200 cities across the United States in about the next 5 years, and really build this national network of what we call the American Dream Factories. Each community focuses on an industry, but we've done this in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We've also done this in Utica, New York. We've
Wow.
done it in Rome, New York. We've done it, and we're starting in Syracuse as well. Down in Brooksville, Florida. We work in Nevada. We have North Las Vegas, also in Sparks, Nevada. We've done some work in Southern California for a group down there. called
What university? What Sparks?
Sparks. So you have UNR, and they also have Truckee Meadows Community College.
So see what you're seeing there, folks, is a trend towards you've got to go where the young people are and then encourage them to stay and help spread the culture.
Yeah, well, it's that, but it's also, it's just reconnecting community, man, around meaningful stuff. Every day, people are buzzing around this town on their way to something. And why do we don't get together to have senior citizens mentor curious college students, right, where they're investing millions of dollars in other markets instead of in their own backyard? Is way beyond me. And it's just because it's easier to do these other things, and no one's harmonizing those things. So that was really what we saw as an opportunity. Let's do that in this country, because we used to hang out together in our towns, and then things changed. So yeah, we've done it in a lot of different communities. We've also done some work with some, like in Aruba, really we did some economic mapping, and done some work in Ireland. But
You start doing it in places that you want to go.
that's the game plan.
You're like, next week we're doing it in Cabo San Lucas.
Yeah. I don't know. You know what? Here's the truth, man. If that were fully true, some people go, wait, you're in New York.
Right, right.
True.
You know, I love, in all honesty, I love Utica, the people there. It is a fascinating community because we're also different that we work with. Utica is a deeply Italian community.
Old school, big insurance company up there, a lot of money.
Woolworth started there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Think about that.
legacy there is crazy. You're Utica out, and then boom, it all went away. But super fun stuff.
We've talked about this and you know, literally now in Bill's building, we're up looking out over the city.
Yeah.
And you know, you look out and you're like, how do we change the culture? I'm not, this excites me because we talked about, of course, Ash works at UHV.
Yeah.
He's vested, you know, he cares. And we've talked about how do you keep the best and brightest here. You know, it's I want to go where corn don't grow. You know, we want to leave, but then later on they want to come back. It's a pretty good place to raise kids.
Right.
And your commute's 10 minutes instead of an hour.
Right. And if you could find a way to be innovative and find the resources to say, oh, by the way, I make a killing there.
Connecting with people, you're working on your self-talk, you're meeting VCs, you're founders, board members of these massive companies. Why? Because they come to your town to mentor you. But that's a cool town. And guess what? You're not going to find that in the same way, in the same system, at the same scale in Houston, in Austin. It's broken apart little pockets.
Correct.
It's hard to find.
Yeah, now they're in Cedar Park or they're in Round Rock. I thought another interesting thing that you talked about the other day is, you know, you've got these industries that start up, but there's a lot of spin-offs of small businesses. Like you talked about the coffee truck that is now just a thriving business because the guy saw a need, started serving coffee to a robotics festival, and all of a sudden, boom, he's got a thriving business.
Yeah, each town we say, look, you'll be the future of sports, you'll be the future of arts, you'll be the future of aging, or the future of robotics. But it doesn't mean every idea has to be about robotics. It just gives people guardrails and where to put the creativity.
Right.
Sometimes people don't know where to start. But if you're in this room right now, if we said, hey, let's come up with an idea that helps people who have lost their legs. All of us, each one of us could come up with something interesting. But if we say, hey, come up with something innovative in the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, you're gonna sit there and
Where do I start?
Yes, it's the guardrails and the spin-offs. What this is about, and this is great, Ashley, you bring this up, because look, I'm not a roboticist. I can come up with other ideas. And we had like a veteran, a PTSD veteran, who started making sculptures of robots out of reclaimed kind of waste, or in a culture that everyone can find abundance in. And it's less about be an entrepreneur. No. It's about and be a technologist. It's about no, you're a creator. Go be a creator. Like the society calls you a consumer. That sucks. Like I consume. I'm not a consumer. I'm a creator.
And it is different, Kim, when you look at it. I'm a McCombs guy. And you look at it, and if you want to stereotype it, we come from a background, sadly, it's very structured. You have to look at ROI. You have to look at startup cost. You have to look at everything about it is repressive. You need to get your spreadsheet together. I need to see what your business plan is. Get all these boxes checked before we.
Class that I hate.
Now it's an
HP 12C.
now it's a math class I'll tolerate because it's gonna benefit me.
We forgot all those things were invented because people came up with really awesome ideas that created the need.
Right.
No, you need both. I mean, you need the idea, and Nick knows this perfectly well. The idea in and of itself is worthless. You have to then create value out of the idea, and that is the creative process that entrepreneurs go through.
That's awesome.
And that's what Nick does with his people. It's not just about sitting around like tossing around ideas. That's the first step.
What's the next step for Victoria?
Well, the next step is we have to come to a collective agreement that we all want this. And so there will be discussions in the coming weeks with Jesus and with the university folks and Danielle and all the other people you mentioned. And if we want it, then we make an agreement with them, and they're willing to start within 30 days.
later.
Somewhat rhetorical, but what's the downside? I mean, why wouldn't you want it? Is it a startup cost? I mean, is that an issue?
The only downside would be is the cost, but honestly, at the end of the day, we're pretty lean. And
Right.
We have it right back into this community, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So I mean, there's definitely the side where like it has to be a commitment from a community, but there's not a lot of downside to be honest.
Well, you got me thinking, because Ash and I in the past have been big proponents of, Bootfest doesn't make any money, but who cares? I mean, once a year we get together. It's part. You know what? Tomorrow I can get the Bootfest money to this program. Tomorrow, just say, hey, guess what? Our whole town will be Bootfest all the time. It'll be a fun, exciting, vibrant place to be all the time. And people are going, oh yeah, sure, you believe that.
Well, but Nick, tell them about your yearly event that you have.
I think big festival.
Yeah, so this
Yeah.
is what we could do.
Oh yeah. So I mean, we have like I said, 70 events a year. So like a once a month storytelling session, idea sharing sessions, group tour, your startup, and your self-talk.
Ash likes the wine tasting and
We do
the
a
beach
lot of
fest.
events.
Yeah.
But then Think Big Festival, once a year, we fly in about 30 to 50 industry experts to the town. They stay in hotels everywhere. The sunset reception is VIP. We invite in a bunch of the local community. It's cocktails and fun. People from, we've got people from SpaceX, Google, Facebook.
They don't ever stop here. They just
So-
fly right over.
Well, I'm not even done with this festival. So it's like the first night, right? And so then after that, everyone goes home. And then they wake up and a catered meal by a bunch of chefs around town who make off-menu items, which is super innovative and fun. It's like this crazy kind of innovation meal. They vote on who had the best meal. And then the chef wins an award from all these people, cool brands. Then we go downtown and there's music, beer garden, there's drones flying around, self-driving cars, VR headsets, and all hands-on stuff, kids to play with. Like my sons, I have 2 sons. I watch my sons utilize and drive the Da Vinci robot doing surgery on a grape. They're 8 and 10.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And that says I mean, that'll be fun.
and then speakers, and then after that, we have that party and music downtown with the whole town coming out, kind of like a hands-on tech fair. Everyone goes home, and then the third day, everyone wakes up and meets usually at the college or somewhere for all those experts. They speak, and TED style conference and talk about the future of the industry. Then we're going to pump crawl all the local startups around the town. And all these things going on, literally, I have watched companies get bought during this event.
No doubt.
I have watched massive investments go down. We've been a part of 20 companies. Like, it comes from people's brains and then the hard work with partners like UHV in the community.
So
Yeah,
this
you
is
get the right
just
people
for
in town.
creators.
Absolutely. They come to town, they fall in love with your little startup business, Ash, and the next thing you know, they're like, you know what? They meet you and get you in a relaxed environment where ideas are exchanged. And the next thing you know, they're like, we'll invest $100 million.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think it's awesome. Y'all have another appointment? There you go.
Like, we can talk
How do we
about-
top that one?
Nothing
Yeah.
burning. I know you bought that downtown
I
Victoria.
did.
I know you did.
It's
No,
got a uniform on the back. I
It's
love it.
beautiful.
It's the weirdest cowboy shirt I've
Thank
ever had.
We'll
Thank
see
you
you
very
guys
much for
again.
having
We'll
us.
follow up.
Nick,
for sure.
very, very exciting
It
for
is exciting,
Victoria.
right?
Yeah.
And
It really is, and energizing.
well, what happens is, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about you. 'Cause you're a structured guy too. You do have a bunch of boxes you have to check on a daily basis. But you find your brain going, he's talking about, then we go here, then we go down, and I just picture Constitution Street by 205 and kids playing virtual reality over on the square. And you start realizing Victoria has the infrastructure to make
Victoria has the people.
no doubt. There's creative people here, innovative people here, smart, leadership-driven people here.
I saw Cheryl's eyes just light up, and I mean, she got all excited.
She's a
listening to
million
this
ideas.
yesterday.
We have those conversations about how do you make it better? How do you make it different? Lilo sent you something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
This will dominate our next conversation with Jesus, because the idea, you've heard us say on the air before, just make Victoria a prettier place. We don't need a project to do it. If you own a business, put a potted
Do it.
plant in front of your business. Do it now. It's the same mentality. If you want to create.
Yeah.
Quit falling into the idea of why you can't create.
But the beauty about this is you have somebody who's done this now in 6 different cities. He has a plan and a roadmap for success.
And he's no doubt learned. And
Oh, for sure.
This
Yeah.
works, this not so much. This will work, this won't.
And it's very much tailored to the community. I mean, it's driven by what comes out of those meetings with the people in this town. And then, I mean, I drove through Coeur d'Alene when it was a sleepy little town. Now people go to Coeur d'Alene.
Oh, yeah.
It was the lakeside of Spokane, Washington. Spokane was always the bigger city. That was where everything was get done. Nobody wants to be in Spokane anymore. Coeur d'Alene, nice touristy area, but now it is the center of I mean, it's in Idaho and it's kind of like Texas North in a sense, but people want to be there.
Yeah.
Before, you used to go there for the weekend or for your week's vacation, and then you went home. You didn't go there to stay. And it's driving some things in Coeur d'Alene, and boy, that's exciting for the future of Victoria.
I tell you what, and you get a guy like Bill that spends his time, he's got to find the pulse of the community. The guy owns and leases real estate. He's got to have, and I start thinking about, you get Torrin Bells involved in this. You get JP Hull involved in this. You get Mayor McCoy, who I love to have fun with, but Raleigh is as innovative. He's as hip a 75-year-old guy as you're ever going to find.
Well, and here's the other thing. You get others involved. Those are the obvious names. It's the less obvious names or the ones that are completely off the map
Steve
that
Johnson,
get involved and take this and establish something that grows to absolutely phenomenal heights, and that's what puts Victoria on the map.
like Harry Carey.
Exactly.
You have a lady from Bloomington. Los Alamos Record Service helps promote that segment right there, 578-6300. Allen's Record Service for all your towing needs, period. Big rig, little rig, no rig. Scene, make sure everybody's safe. The VCS companies, our banner sponsor, they just are. Talk about doing it right. Talk about being innovative. Talk about getting out and
We'll
making
get the
things
banner
happen.
back up eventually.
We will get the banner back up. We're putting the band back together. The VCS companies for all your surveillance, security, monitoring, all your needs. If it communicates all the way from a ranch radio, a one-to-one radio, to a extensive phone system hardwired to all your cellular needs at the AT&T store, they've got it all. Then, of course, reach out to Chester Furniture. 100 years. Celebrate now 101 years. We've been told Facebook's not working. Try us at 95.9 FM.
YouTube's working.
YouTube's working like a champ. We look good on YouTube. Not really. We don't look that good on YouTube, but we are on YouTube. Chester Furniture, go to Veracruz. When Nick Smoot talks about having catered meals and folks coming in, I immediately think of Veracruz. Nothing says Victoria like a great plate of Tex-Mex at Veracruz. Get by today. Indulge me. The Adson Arbor dealership since 1926. AdsonArbor.com. It's your home for your next vehicle. Pre-owned, certified, whether you need a Chevy, Cadillac, Mazda, Mitsubishi, a work truck, an RV, if they've got it, they'll sell it to you. They're not in the car collection business. USA Concrete Coatings, Charlie Garcia, 578 home. Charlie will come out, touch up that pool deck, fix a patio or front porch that has a crack in it, put a polyurethane coating down in your garage door. They do it all. 578 home. Reach out to Charlie Garcia. And the Gray Barn, Cheryl. She'll come and help you with your next party idea. I guarantee you the reason Cheryl was excited about this type of project, the Innovative Collective, is because it's the very same thing that makes her good at what she does. It's being
Creativity and ingenuity.
Yes, absolutely. Reach out to 920-6803. And then, of course, Razor IT Solutions. This type of technology-driven creativity is exactly in line with what the folks at Razor IT Solutions do. If you reach out to JP Hull and his team, you'll be amazed at the results you will enjoy for your business. So
We're caught up.
We're caught up. We have a handful left. We're going to still talk about White Ash and Uncle Mudd's. We'll get back around to that. With services, we'll get back around to that. We're caught up. It is that I'm going to tell you something. That 30 minutes with those guys went quicker than any 30 minutes we've had. You feel
and we only scratched the surface.
No doubt.
That's the only downside of this conversation is we didn't really have enough to get into the nuts and bolts of some things that Nick talked about the other night when I met with him. That really drove home how this partnership can really help Victoria, because he got into what they've done in the 6 cities, not just Coeur d'Alene, but he talked a little bit about Utica, New York, and they're in Syracuse and they're in Florida, and now they're looking here to Victoria. I mean, that's the cool thing is they're looking to Victoria.
Yeah.
And
that's purely a connection. Bill Winlet has property and business dealings in Coeur d'Alene. He met the right guy. That's what happened. Good morning, Sean Neely. I'm liking the tremendous thank you, folks, for the turnout on YouTube. When I look at the YouTube situation, they don't get this audio. They're just getting what's on the laptop.
Off. Well, but they'll get the audio into the laptop. Yeah.
There's a little more apology for the product you're getting. I'm like, hey, it's not as. But I'll tell you, it's just an observation. 4 years ago, we're in our 5th year now. We would have been so thrilled for this.
Yeah.
And now we're apologizing because, hey, it's not a good camera angle and it's not a good picture. We need the Innovative Club. We need development.
Well, we get this set up. We'll be
fine. We'll get it set up. VCS is going to help us. We're going to get some cameras in here. Very excited.
So, see what else?
I like the YouTube. I like the YouTube presence. You guys are amazing.
I worked as a backup today with some of the Facebook issues, and we apologize for those.
We believe that's the government.
It worked fine until we started talking small business and entrepreneurship.
That's not, entrepreneurship is not under the Biden administration umbrella. It is all about the state.
We missed something yesterday that we ran out of time, and it wasn't, but Hank Aaron passed away over the weekend. And I remember as a kid, watching Hank Aaron play for the Braves, and nobody liked the Braves in the 70s. Let's be honest. The Braves didn't become hip until, Glavine and Maddox and those guys. Fred McGriff went from the Blue Jays, and, hurt Toronto Blue Jays fans when he left. But he languished in Atlanta with some very bad teams, played at old Fulton County Stadium, which wasn't exactly, the greatest place to play. But
the launching pad.
But it was a terrible stadium.
Right.
I mean, you talked to there, saw a game there. But baseball lost an icon. And obviously, the guy that broke Babe Ruth's records, and you think of all the stuff that happened on the way to Hank Aaron. But just for anybody who's a fan of baseball, it was a sad moment over the weekend, and we missed it yesterday. But wanted to kind of share at least mine, because this is a guy that we didn't get a lot of Braves games in Canada.
We did here,
but until WTBS was available. And Hank was gone by then.
But you got to think about,
boy, did he have an impact on the game.
Well, and so he retires. He breaks Hank Aaron's, Babe Ruth's record for
his own record,
and was called. Yeah, that's how good he was. He broke his own record. In fact, he broke his own record every time, from 715 to 755 when he finally retired. Bigger than that, like when you talk about the trickle down of what a man like this meant to baseball, he came in. Of course, Jackie Robinson had long ago broken the color barrier, but Hank Aaron was a peer of Willie Mays. He was a peer of Mickey Mantle. These are some of the greatest names in the history of baseball. These guys all played at the same time. And, Aaron was
played in the Negroes.
He played in the Negro leagues. He came to the big leagues in 54. Something like that, and
I said he played with the Negroes.
Well,
Joe or Phil.
But I'll tell you this: he played in the Negro leagues, which is amazing. I guess what I'm getting to is, in less than one generation, this man was a personal mentor at the highest level, second only to my father, says Dusty Baker, the current manager of the Astros. Henry Aaron went to Dusty Baker's house. He was as big a star as Paul had. Went to Dusty Baker's house. Dusty's mother wanted him to go to college. Hank Aaron said, "Your son is a gift. I'll watch him. I'll take care of him. I'll make sure he goes to church." Dusty Baker traveled with Hank Aaron and says that Hank Aaron became second only to his own father as a father figure who did make sure he acted right and did take him to church.
Worked out pretty well for Dusty, and it just shows you the kind of man that Hank Aaron was.
Yes.
To take that responsibility on to help Dusty get to where Dusty got and reach his potential, because he knew it wasn't going to be down another road.
And now Dusty Baker, is sneaking up on 2,000 wins as a manager. It's amazing. So
he's a pretty good player.
He's a pretty good player too. And yes, Babe Ruth was fairly universally adored. Maybe some Red Sox fans that didn't like him, but in general, fairly universally adored. Hank Aaron endured people giving him death threats,
hating on him
for being a black man trying to
break Babe Ruth's
record. There's idiots in every crowd. We know that.
Well, and those idiots aren't always race based. Don't forget Roger Maris faced the same thing for breaking Babe Ruth's single season record. Right. So you just get idiots. Idiots are idiots, and there's no excuse for them.
I still remember him hitting that home run in Milo Hamilton, another Astros connection. Milo was the voice of the Braves at that point, and Milo makes the call. And you remember that? Can you picture picture Aaron rounding second, and the crowd just spilled into the stadium, and there's a guy running with him. I remember Aaron putting his hand back on his batting helmet, like, okay, you can't have my batting helmet. I got to get to the, I got to touch home plate.
Got to touch them all.
No, great man, great player.
And a great ambassador after he left the game. I mean,
Yeah.
he was still revered and represented the game well his entire life.
So a serious blow to Major League Baseball fans, and another piece of my childhood gone. That's the way that goes. So
Speaking of gone, did I hear correctly? Deshaun Watson's a New York Jet.
isn't that interesting? Who's going to be the Jets coach?
I don't remember. That's
Oh,
the Jets.
Yeah, no. The Jets coach is the guy was he from Buffalo? Fiorini or Ferrari?
Okay.
Anyway, young guy. Young guy says, hey, he's the guy that goes in and says all gas, no brakes. Kind of stole that from Steve Sarkisian. So interesting to see how that'll play out. Deshaun Watson is a fine football player. I don't know what's going on in Houston sports. They're in disarray. They've got problems.
Yeah. I'm trying to find. I saw something last night on that, and now I'm not seeing any NFL headlines, which is interesting. So let me see. But I had thought he was gone for a Sam Darnold was coming this way, and a bunch of draft picks. But
Really?
yeah, I
I
don't
just
know.
don't see it.
That was a rumor. I don't see any confirmation of it, but I saw that. I'm getting old. I had to get up and go to the restroom and saw that. Maybe it was a blip, but anyway, I don't know. That would be a great fit for the Jets. Although the Jets seems to be the place where quarterbacks. Okay, Chris Conrad says no trade has happened yet.
Okay.
So it's in the works. It was prematurely reported at 2:00 this morning. I don't know, but I don't know if that's a good move for Deshaun Watson's career. The Jets just seem to ruin quarterbacks.
Well, everybody just goes there and, we joke about Cleveland, who, by the way, they win 12 games this year, something like that. We joke about Cleveland being a place that players go to languish, but, I mean, Detroit and the Jets are right there with them.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Matt Stafford's available.
Yeah.
I say there's no future in Detroit for Matt Stafford, so they're finally going to blow it up and completely start the rebuild in Detroit, which, no slight on Matt Stafford. I think he was a very good quarterback stuck in a very bad organization.
I think he's got like 44,000 yards in his career. I mean, he's like one of the
lot of
top
yards.
10 passers of all time.
Yeah.
What, he's like Georgia?
Yeah, I think he did.
Matt Stafford?
Yeah, I think he did.
Folks, let's do this right quick in the meat of the program. Let's talk about Went Services. Just for a moment, let's talk about the fact that if you've got a building, you want to be innovative and creative. If you've got a building like this building right here that we're in, Bill Winlet, take advantage of a government program, put solar panels on this building, and between the tax rebates and the literal cash refunds, in a 3-year period, those solar panels will pay for themselves. And after that, provide free electricity to the building. This is a continuation and extension of the program that they were allowing individuals to do
On their homes a
at
few years ago.
the corporate level. I literally sat with Carl Wendt, and he said, I'm just shooting you straight. There's no catch. It's because it's being funded by the government. But we know that's probably dumb. If they're involved, it's dumb. But it is.
I mean, the government subsidizes a lot of industries.
Right. There you go. White Trash Services doesn't need a subsidy. They need you. 6-county region, including Holiday Beach and Rockport. 550-1826. If you reach out to White Trash Services, not only do you get a person on the phone, you get personalized, customized trash removed from your property. They'll come out and help you. They'll say, no, you don't need service twice a week. You just need this one dumpster, or vice versa. And I said, no, we'll just come out twice a week and get your stuff. Reach out to White Trash Services.
550-1826, the number to call. The great thing is you'll talk to somebody.
Yeah, they're nice folks.
And they are. They really
Tell them Wade and Carter sent you, please.
And you'll have a trash-tastic day.
And when you go by Uncle Mutt's today, I drove by Uncle Mutt's today. It looked like a carnival was going on. But there was a delivery truck on the backside between them and that grocery truck.
Okay.
But I mean, every light was on. It looked like thanks for all they're giving back and back. You today, brisket, ribs, sausage, chicken, turkey, all the side dishes. They got it all. It's a great place to be. What else you got? We had a couple of things we were going to talk about.
We're running out of time, but we'll get to most of them tomorrow. But I thought it was interesting that Joe Biden is trying to keep up with President Trump on Twitter. I mean, Twitter's become important to him for whatever reason. And
his handlers,
yeah, he probably doesn't know what Twitter
are
is.
typing on Twitter.
Yeah, but turns out about half his Twitter followers are accounts that all joined up in January. They're bots and such.
Very interesting. I don't understand all the smoke and mirrors I'm seeing with this administration. I don't understand why the Justice of the Supreme Court doesn't want to or isn't going to preside over the impeachment. We're going to put a Democratic senator in there, which just means he Trump to slaughter. I mean, there's not
who can also vote on the
like
impeachment. But I don't see 17 Republican senators jumping ship and going along with the impeachment. Senator Patrick,
unless they're all dirty.
Put his powdered wig on in black robe, maybe. Right. I don't know.
He's the co-dude. Him and Bernie are the two dudes.
So, they were saying that this is what Chief Justice Roberts should be presiding over, and then Senator Leahy goes and talks about his constitutional duty. And again, I'm no constitutional expert. I think I have enough of a layman's understanding. I don't see anything in the Constitution that allows you to impeach a former president.
Well, here's what gets me. If you want to, so you've got 75 million Republicans, or 75 million people that voted for Donald Trump or against Joe Biden. And you're going to tell those 75 million people that because you've wasted, insert the number that makes your stomach hurt here, X number of dollars on an impeachment of a guy who's not in office. The entire purpose of this is so that he can be deemed unable to run for office again. The man's going to be 80 years old. Yeah. If he's going to be 80 years old in 2024 and enough Americans want him to be president, who is Congress to tell me that I can't have that guy run for president? Don't they work for us? I mean, if there's enough of us, and I'm not saying I would vote for Donald Trump at 80. I'm just saying don't tell me that I can't.
I listened to an interview yesterday, and I believe they need to get the impeachment vote so then they can have a second vote that would preclude him from ever running for office or being appointed to anything ever again. But they're not going to get to 67 or whatever they need. I just can't see it. But it's a waste of time.
It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. It's a continuation of the lack
and what's going to happen is we're not talking treason. High crimes, misdemeanors is one other in there. You know that thing.
Yeah, that thing. That thing we talked about.
We have lowered the bar on impeachment so badly that it has become a political tool. And I'm going to give the Republicans a play here. If Donald Trump is being impeached for inciting a riot, then 10 years ago, Nancy Pelosi was all about encouraging the progressives that stormed the state capitol in Wisconsin. In 2 years, when Republicans take back the House and Senate and probably will have large majorities when they do, you go and impeach Nancy Pelosi for inciting a takeover of the state capitol in Wisconsin, and then we'll see how this plays out and just how much the Democrats like it.
Exactly.
Because she was all in favor of it, and her words, in my opinion, are a lot more damning than President Trump saying, we need to go let those people know what we think about the election.
Tune in tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about signals that are out there. When you've got a senator like Tulsi Gabbard concerned about former senator,
but Democrat presidential candidate.
Ashley, biographer of the stars. But when you have someone like Tulsi Gabbard, a more noteworthy presidential candidate than Kamala Harris,
True story.
when you have her saying, whoa, 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 slow your roll there, Joe Biden, you're infringing upon the freedom of speech of 75 million Americans, and the Democratic Party has no real response. They just go right by that. Like, oh, she's just disgruntled.
And this is in response to the domestic terrorism bill that was introduced earlier this week.
She may be a little bit of a lefty. So there you go. Tell me what buttons to push over here. Go there.
There's that top. Hold on. Let's get this.
Folks, we're gonna hit the road here and turn this back over to the Brother Man and the Hall of Fame.
Hit that top left one,
Yeah.
and then turn that yellow one to green, and we're good. Bye, folks.
Bye, folks.